Western countries are working their fingers to the bone to end the crisis that is currently building in Eastern Europe. They have raised concerns against Russia's uncanny timing of military drills. But nothing seems to deter President Putin, it seems. Russia has launched strategic nuclear drills. Videos now show the launch of ballistic missiles during the training. The exercises are a show-off to the Western onlookers, displaying Russia's military might. Vladimir Putin and his all-weather ally, Belarus President Alexander Lukashenko, oversaw military exercises. Jets, helicopters, tanks and paratroopers were part of this drill. Belarus has made its loyalty to Russia clear as day. The president is prepared to back its neighbor in case a conflict does arise. The West fears that ongoing exercises could be used as a cover ahead of an invasion of Ukraine. The US says that Russia has amassed 150,000 troops at the Ukrainian border, but Russia defends its move, claiming that it does not owe the West any kind of explanation about what goes on in its own territory. Meanwhile, Ukraine is conducting its own drills mirroring Russia. According to the defense minister, drone, anti-tanks, javelin and missiles have all been part of this exercise. For the Russian perspective on this story, we are now being joined by a political observer, Sergei Strokhan, live from Moscow. Sergei, thanks so much for joining us on WION. Now, the world is looking at Russia closely now, watching every move. The US says that Russia could attack Ukraine in a few days' time, while Russia says that it has no intentions of doing so. What's your take on this?
Well, I'm not Kremlin spokesman, but I suggest not to repeat propaganda cliché of Western media. Since we are on Indian TV. I understand that today all eyes are focused on Russian military drills. By the way, they are winding up. And just to remind our audience that Russian troops are moving, in the last 2 days, they're moving from the border to other areas which are distant from the border. However, it is not military exercise which are shaping up environment over the Ukraine. The situation in self-proclaimed republics of Donetsk and Lugansk is extremely dramatic. And believe me, it is the situation in these particular republics, not Russian military drills, which would largely determine what would be the next step of President Putin. In practical terms, you're talking a lot about Russia's military built-up. But few people know that Ukrainian army accumulated more than 100,000 troops on the border with neighboring republics, and every day it is shelling neighboring republics. So Russia is in quite a difficult situation because nearly 1 million Russian passport holders are located in those republics. So Russia has to do some action. So it's not appropriate to talk about Russia's aggression or whatever. Russia has to protect its citizens. But whether it will do this or not, the question is up in the air.
Right. Now, Sergei, what then explains the Western alarm over troop deployment along the Ukraine border? The US, of course, has warned against what it calls a false flag operation from Russia. What do you have to say about that?
Well, it's an open secret that Russia was conducting this military exercise. But as I understand it, the only reason to conduct this military exercise was to, this muscle flexing, so to say, was to show Ukrainians that if you tend to attack the self-proclaimed republics, they would be a cost, and a huge cost. So you guys think twice whether attacking the republics or not. Well, if you look at the battleground, I will tell you this, few people know this, that the armies of the self-proclaimed republics is outnumbered by Ukrainian army 5 times. Can you imagine? So if tomorrow Ukrainians start major offensive, they would crumble. They won't be able to withstand this pressure. Right. That's why Russian military muscles were there to show that if needed, we would intervene.
Right, Sergey, we'll of course verify that number at our end, but will the threat of unprecedented economic sanctions deter President Putin? That's a big question.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, today the talk of the day here is whether President Putin would take a decision to recognize the self-proclaimed republics, which would entirely change the whole situation over Ukraine. Of course, I would be frank with you, we don't have good decision. We have to choose between bad decisions.
Right. WION World is One is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.